All right, so in this portion of the lesson for our interactive journal, uh, this section is going to be operating on polynomials, and this video is just going to be talking about adding and subtracting. There's going to be another link in the journal for multiplying polynomials and getting the quotient of the polynomial. You're multiplying, there's two ways to do it, FOIL and um, distributing the polynomials. And that's going to be in our second video because it'll probably take a little bit longer and we're going to go a little bit slower through that. There's two ways that we're going to go through. We're going to be solving the same question, um, but we're going to do two different ways. One is grouping and the other one is just straight addition and subtraction. Um, it's whichever way you'll find easier. I think the second way we're going to do it is probably the visually a little bit easier. Um, but let's focus on the adding the polynomial. So we're going to be looking at this one right here. So when we are adding polynomials, we need to combine like terms, and those are uh, numbers that are either attached to a variable of the same exponent or the degree or a constant. So here I'm going to separate the polynomials. I'm going to separate the degrees and I'm just going to circle them. So first thing I see here is this 4p squared, 4p to the second power. I want to find a term like that so I can add them together. And I see that one over here. They have the same variable, and it's to the same degree. So we're going to add 4p squared plus negative 3p squared. And by doing that, we are going to put that right here, 4p squared plus negative 3p squared. And that gives us p squared. Technically 1p squared, but again, in algebra, we don't need to show that one. So we're just going to write it as p squared. Then we're going to look at our second term, and I'll put it in this salmon color. We have negative 2 times p, or negative 2p, and I see this having the same, or having it to the same degree and the same variable. If it had a different letter there or a different variable, we wouldn't be able to combine it because we can't, those are not like terms. Well, negative 2p plus negative 3p, we can kind of think of this as negative 2p subtracted by 3p, and that is going to give us negative 5p. And our last one, there is no like term in this parentheses right there. So the only thing we have left is this plus 7, and we can't really add it to anything, so we just add it to the end. And this is our answer right here. So that's one way to do it. You're just going to have to circle them. Of course, if you have highlighter, you could highlight the different ones if you have multiple colors. But I think this grouping one that we're about to do right here may be a little bit easier to visualize. So I put this little plus here to make sure that we know we're adding everything. So I'm going to look at my degrees. I have this p squared, I have a p, and then I just have a constant. You could either put like just a number sign or you can put the letter C. It really doesn't matter there. So I'm going to put all the numbers here that have p to the second power, which is a 4 and a negative 3. Well, 4, now I'm going to do this with the laser. 4 plus negative 3 gives me a positive 1. So I know this is going to be a positive 1 p squared. Just bring that down. So what I did there was I know that p squared is still going to stay here, and I just brought that down right there. I'm going to do the same exact thing for the p. Well, I see that the two numbers up there for p are a -2 and a -3. Again, just with my laser pointer, -2 plus -3 gives me -5. And just bring down the p. And last one is the constant. The only thing there is a +7, so plus 7. So if I rewrite this, I get 1p to the second power plus, minus 5p. Now, yeah, I could write plus -5p, but again, that's just, you're adding an extra step that you really don't need to do. So minus 5p plus 7. Same exact answer as that right there. Again, you don't need to show the 1 there. You can just have p squared. P squared is the same thing as 1p squared. So you don't have to show the 1. Now let's look at subtraction. Subtraction with the same exact way. Now there's two ways to do subtraction. You're going to see a lot to just distribute this minus sign with each one of these. And it's just changing the sign. It's going to be a little bit easier. You can just combine everything. So let's do that. So we're going to still have 5p minus 3. And then we're going to distribute this minus sign to each. You're just changing the sign. So minus 2p squared minus p, and a negative is going to be plus 3. And from here, let's combine terms, and that's with the same. I'm just going to use different colors. So usually I want to start the polynomial with the highest degree. So that is going to be a variable, and whatever number up here, that's going to be to the highest degree. And we see a 2 here, so we're going to start it off with 2. So I'm actually just going to grab this and just bring it down. So -2p to the second power. And then, plus or minus the next degree, and that's this variable right here. We have 5p, and then we have minus p, negative p. Well, 5 minus p will give me a positive 4p. Because again, we're just combining them. And last is our constant number. And those are the numbers without the variables. Here's a -3 and a +3. Well, -3 plus 3 is 0. So we are done. We have our answer right here. That is what the polynomial, these two polynomials subtracted, what it's going to turn into. Well, let's do the same thing that we did with addition with subtraction. But we don't actually have to distribute this minus sign. We're going to just know that we always have to subtract, and that's why there's a subtraction sign up there. We have p squared, p, and then the number, or you can do c as the constant. Well, for p squared, I just have a -2. So I could just bring that down. I don't need to subtract anything. That's just going to be -2p squared. And then let's look at the lone variable, the p here. And I'm looking at my first one. There's a 5 right there. And then there is a p. So the reason why I'm not doing the minus p, because we're looking at this one right here. Remember, this is one way to solve it, and this is the second way to solve it. So we're not actually really looking at this one anymore. We're looking at the top one. So 5, same thing that we did with addition, but again, this is subtraction now. 5 minus p, or 1, I should say. Actually, this is 1. 5 minus 1 is 4. And then bring down the p. And since it's positive, we're going to be adding it. So we need to show that it's plus 4p. And last one with the consonant, or I'm sorry, the constant, we have a, right here, let me put it in red, we have a negative 3, and we have a negative 3. So negative 3 and negative 3, the two numbers. Well, it's the same exact way with any type of subtraction. Negative 3 minus negative 3. Well, let's write that out. Negative 3 minus a negative 3. Well, what do we know about subtracting a negative? What does this turn into? It turns into a positive, addition. So it's going to be negative 3 plus positive 3, which gives us 0. So our answer, same exact thing. Negative 2 to the second, or negative p to the negative 2p to the second power plus 4p. And you can add the 0. You can even subtract the 0. It doesn't do anything. So if it doesn't do anything to our expression, we really don't need to show it. So here is our answer right here. You don't have to include the 0. So we got the same exact answers. These two are the same. Two ways of solving it. One, we're distributing this minus sign and turning all these signs the opposite that they were. Or you can do the grouping. Remember, you're subtracting. Same thing with this addition. We grouped it right here, and we added everything. With the addition of this one, again, we didn't have to turn all of these into the opposite sign because we can just add them through. Again, if you have questions about operating polynomials with multiplication by FOIL or distributing, that's in the second video, so make sure to watch that if you're having trouble with that as well. And then there's one that we're talking about, so using FOIL or using the distributive property, or another video about finding the quotient, so dividing polynomials. So check those videos if you need a little bit more support on that.